Hello, everyone. As Jan said, my name's Ben Johnson. I started Gruvi about 12 years ago, and basically we're trying to invent the next generation of marketing platform that helps both distributors and exhibitors sell more tickets. But I think before we dive into that, I wanted to give you a little bit of a background on our perspective. So we believe that audience insights and audience behavioral data is going to be key to unlocking the next phase of cinema growth, which is this concept of the digital foyer. And before we get there, one of the things that is important to understand is our industry is still facing a lot of aftershocks from the pandemic. And the state of the world's economy as well is a foreshadow. We have issues with production. We have issues with the way that movies are being released right now. We have new issues to do with the window. We have issues to do with VOD platforms and rising competition for audience attention. And basically all this is yielding us into a situation where even the small and big players are feeling a number of shocks right now. I'm from Scotland originally. I read something quite shocking the other day from Rob, a guy I follow on LinkedIn. In my hometown in Aberdeen, 29 of the 29 independent cinemas there are in the process of restructuring currently. So it's something that's going to affect us all, and I think it's very important that we start to look at new systems for dealing with the chaos that's coming ahead and trying to take advantage of the opportunities that are in that chaos as well. I think if I was to try and distill the chief fear that is affecting the cinema industry today is out of all these impacts, both environmental, macro, and micro, is this fear that maybe what might be happening is that the audience might be falling out of habit of going or returning back to the cinemas in the future. And I think this is where the concept of the distributor and cinema partnership could be of real value for the idea of the digital foyer. So if we look at other forms of industry, particularly in retail, we know that factors like e-commerce have been in operation for a very, very long time. And I think that throws a question out to our industry as to why we haven't seen patterns of e-commerce going into film marketing and ticket purchasing from a digital perspective. And I think part of it is this mismatch between the main drivers from a stakeholder perspective. So you have studios who invest in rights management, acquiring films. They then work with agencies to do all the advertising, but they never physically meet the customer. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have the cinemas who receive the customer, but are working on up to 18 other films that particular week, and make majority of their profits from the sale of concessions. So I think that's one of the main reasons why we haven't seen entertainment technology really taking off from the perspective of marketing. But in the background, this is what we've been building with Gruvi over the last 12 years. So we have developed an e-commerce engine. We can integrate with cinemas directly. We can figure out what are the purchase behaviors and the intent on seeing different types of films. We can work directly with the distributor to add that data to a film campaign. And what I'll be showing you quickly in the next 2 or 3 slides is the results of that kind of targeted, focused, behaviorally-led marketing that we can generate. But it's around this idea that the distributor and cinema are on the same side of the problem and that they need to be working together. And if there are solutions out there, then the benefits are increasing the return on advertising spend, making sure that campaigns are optimized towards audiences that have an interest in seeing this kind of movie, and making sure that the future of these audiences continues to grow. And I think within this region, it's all about audience growth right now, and I think that's absolutely key with digital marketing. So if we look at a campaign, when it's hooked up to a system, and I'm going to get very boring with the numbers now, so I do apologize, but if everyone can see here, we have 2 segments to the same campaign. We have Facebook, and we have Instagram. The key thing that you need to be looking at on this table is how much money is being returned by each ad, by each customer group. And what we're able to show here is that there are controls where we just go out and use either Instagram or Facebook to try and locate audiences via their own targeting, or we use the behavioral data that's coming in through the site. And in each case, you'll see that the return on advertising spend is way, way higher than the control, where we're just using Facebook or Instagram. So at the top here, where we're using the cinema's audiences for this particular style of movie, we're getting nearly $5 return for every dollar that we put in. When we use Facebook directly, we're getting 1.6. And it's the same with Instagram. When we're using the cinema's own audience data to retarget audiences that are interested in this style of film, we're getting $3 return versus 21 cents here. The other important thing is to understand where users are coming from to buy tickets. And in the good old days, when we were working just purely as an agency without these data sets and without this machine learning tool in the background, we would see impressions and the cost per impression and the clicks, but we wouldn't necessarily see the transaction, the sale. And so in the good old days, or bad old days, we would have actually been turning Instagram off to focus on Facebook. But when we get the revenue data coming in through from the cinemas, we're actually seeing that Instagram is a slightly better buying platform than Facebook. So it's with this partnership that we start to open up very, very rich conversations about how film campaigns run. So in, again, the good old bad days, you'd be working with an agency, you'd be running a campaign as a studio, you'd probably be receiving your report back to you 2 or 3 weeks after the film had finished playing. You don't know what creative drove the transactions, you don't know what messaging drove the transactions, and you don't know which audiences worked. So your media plan is still relatively untested with that info. Here, with our tools, you're able to spot the messaging, the trailer, the target groups, and tie it back to the number of purchases that are happening in real time at that particular moment. So we believe that that's a huge opportunity within the industry to start forecasting in terms of what your return on ad spend is going to be, to figure out where money should be invested more to make greater returns, and as importantly, because I think everyone here is kind of operating like a VC, you know, you've invested in film products, some of them are going to make a lot of money, some of them are going to fail, and some of them are going to break even. But with these kinds of systems, you're able to then start to predict what the outcomes are going to be, which are going to help with programming, talent choice, production in your local areas, what cinemas invest in, screening time. There's a wealth of things that can be added here. And so one of our next innovations, which I'm showing here for the first time, is a new tool that we're putting together called Houston. And Houston will automate through an interface, giving you the ability to calculate in real time what will be happening with the films that you market. And hopefully, this works. Do I just press play again? That's Houston, and we're looking forward to rolling that out in the next 6 months. You'll be seeing a lot of LinkedIn posts from me about that. If anyone is following me on LinkedIn, I run a regular weekly show where I make updates about the cinema and film industry. We'll be talking a lot about the data that comes out of that platform. Thank you very much.